If you are a personal brand with an online business, you need to know how to send engaging, story-driven emails, especially today. With AI-generated content on the rise and social media being so competitive, noisy, and unreliable for reaching your audience, email is the only way that you can avoid drowning in the sea of noise. It's also the most profitable way to communicate. I've made over 7 figures in profit in under 4 years just from sending story-driven emails. So if you want to sell more of your products and services whilst building a great reputation and deep relationships with your readers, I'm going to show you my exact simple 6-step magnetic email process for writing emails that your audience will love. Now, I guarantee this will help you earn your place at the top of their inbox. You don't need to be an expert writer. You don't need hours to write each email either, because I've spent thousands of hours refining this process to make it as dead simple as possible. I've taught it to clients across various niches too. All you have to do is follow along, put in your ideas, and I guarantee you'll have a banger at the end. So grab yourself a cup of tea. And before we dive into the process, I have to make one critical point. Screw the value-based newsletter. Well, what does that mean? So let me just tell you a quick story. I was at a mastermind in London last month, and one guy was presenting and he was explaining that his business was essentially failing. Okay, costs are rising, revenue's going down, and he had a ghostwriter writing his emails. And I asked about the emails, like, so you said you're sending a weekly email? He said yes. I was like, well, what does that involve? And he's like, oh, it's got 3 tips and it's got links that are useful and all of that stuff. And I had to stop him there, and I was like, well, that's a load of shit. All right. Because this whole value-based newsletter stuff, it does not work. I know you see it everywhere. The problem is the people that do it are usually bigger brands that have an established reputation, that have established relationships, and they have the scale to sell, like $100 product, a $200 product, and not need to actually be able to create a connection. You, on the other hand, do not. Okay, you need to be able to write emails that are simple, seductive, conversational, so that people get to know you with every single email that you send. And that's the whole point in the magnetic email process. So let me run you through it. There are 6 steps and it's a systemized approach. And the reason you need a system is because it makes it easy to do the hard thing. You don't want to spend hours writing emails that just don't work. So we have the first part is to plan with the pre-write. Then we set the scene, we prove a point, we ask for action, we use a PS, and then we slap on a subject line. And we're just going to rinse and repeat that. So I'm going to walk you through each step. I'm actually going to write an email with you as well, so you can see it in action. Let's talk about the first step then with the planning. Oh, and by the way, I've written a 1-page guide for you here, just like a cheat sheet. It's for my clients. It makes it super easy. You can get it at the link below, but it is just the checklist. So I recommend you watch this video first, and then you can just write your emails using this sheet. So the pre-write. I used to write without a plan. I just thought, the whole point was letting your ideas flow out of you and see how it goes. It's really nice, okay? It's really fun, but you're an entrepreneur that's busy. You don't have the time to waste hours just free flowing and then deleting most of the stuff because it was a load of crap. So 5 minutes of planning will save you at least 50 minutes of relentless editing. Now, what are we planning? Well, it's simple. Every email must follow the rule of 1. The rule of 1 is just a guideline when we say, look, it's going to one person to solve one problem, one solution, one call to action with one story. Kind of think of it like guardrails in a bowling alley. If you use them, it's pretty embarrassing, but good for your writing, okay? It's going to make sure you don't drift off to the sides. It's going to make sure you hit some pins at the end. Now, when we're planning, we just do rough bullets, right? My writing system is uploaded on a video before this, but I like to do my planning on a Friday, so I write my emails on the Monday, so we have the weekend just to let the mind kind of mull over what you've said, which is the incubation period. I also like to do my planning on paper, but for today, we're going to do it on computer, so you can see me doing this part in action. Now, let me just talk you through each part as we go. So the problem, okay. When we are writing an email, it's super important that you're solving one problem. And when we think about this problem, I want you to just think of it as a bleeding neck. So you might have heard the expression that people don't buy vitamins, they buy painkillers. Right? Well, people don't buy painkillers when they're gushing out of the neck, okay? They're looking for a miracle solution, which is you. And so where do we get these problems from? From your clients, okay? Listen to the questions that come up, your audience as well, okay? So one cool thing I do with email, I have a welcome sequence, and at about email 3 or 4, there's just a couple sentences that say, hey, what are you struggling with? Every single reply we save, and then when I come to write my content each week, I'm like, oh, let me go solve this problem for someone. And what I would say here is that you want to collect problems like a squirrel connects nuts, okay? It kind of gets better over time, but you just have hundreds of things that people have asked you for. You really won't struggle with this anymore. So let's take a look at our cheat sheet for today, and I will write it out. So our problem here is creating content for years, but not getting inbound clients. Okay. Now, moving on to the solution. So when I first started writing emails, I deep dived into the email direct response world. And honestly, it was just sell, like blast your list until they buy. That's not what we're trying to achieve as writers and personal brands, right? We're trying to build a long lasting relationship and deep trust. And so my rule of thumb is that every email must be useful regardless of if someone buys or not. This way, you can run a launch and they can still read every email, but maybe they don't buy for 6 months or 12 months or 24 months. And that's cool, right? So you want to be useful as you're going through. Again, we're thinking of a solution, but the secret here is that we are not over teaching. Your job in an email, okay, it's not actually to teach, it's to motivate someone to learn. Nobody opens up their email, and usually they're on a train or they're, sitting on the sofa and go, oh, thank God this guy's just given me 2,000 words of stuff to do. They might read it and go, hey, that was really useful, but they never actually act on it, okay? So what we want to do is we want to change how someone sees, thinks, feels, or acts so that they then take action and pick up your product, right? Because when people pay, they pay attention. So if we go back to our cheat sheet, the solution that we're talking about here is about client conversation flywheels, right? And so like I said, these are just very, very rough bullets that normally I would go and do a few days before. So call to action. Now this is actually the purpose of the entire email. It's what are we pitching, okay? And we always want one call to action. So one mistake I make, and we mentioned with that value newsletter, if there's 3-4 links going everywhere, right? Nothing happens. If you try to link everything, you link nothing. So we have one purpose behind the email. That's your call to action, and it's usually going to be whatever you're selling. Now, I was just helping a client write his welcome sequence, and he was like, oh, how often should I pitch my offer? And I was like, every single email. Okay, the only emails where you don't is where you're sending them to a link, usually of your other stuff like podcast episodes or essays or other authority assets to build your reputation. There is nothing wrong with pitching yourself in every email. And actually people go, I'm scared of being salesy. It's worse if you only sell every 4 months because people don't expect that. When we do a call to action, we're encouraging people to go from passive reading to active reading, even if it is just a call to action to take some form of action that isn't buying. Now in this case, because I'm actually running a launch, our call to action is a live training on how to land high ticket clients. Okay, and the cool bit is if I'm doing a launch, the call to action stays the exact same each time, which means that in the email itself, the pitch pretty much stays the same each time. So all I have to do is write the first 2/3 of the email, coming up with a new problem and a new story. And often not even a new problem, it's usually the same problem from different angles. So, stories. One of my favorite rules here is that no point should be made without a story and no story should be made without a point. It's particularly true today. Great content, right? Great content has 3 criteria. It's useful, unique, and undeniable. We've just spoke about it being useful, but the problem is today, ChatGPT is always going to be more useful than you. You have to do the things that AI can't, and that's be you, right? And that's why storytelling is so damn good, because it immediately makes an idea your own. Undeniable is backing up with proof, and storytelling is just a vehicle for truth. Okay, they're also entertaining as hell. So if you could start with a story for every email, which is what I do now, I guarantee you're going to get more and more opens, because people know that when they read, they're going to get delighted as well as educated, and then they might be invited to invest too. Now, I don't want to deep dive into storytelling today, but there are 2 types of stories. Okay, you have your campfire stories, which is the gather round. These are your brand defining stories. So for me, for example, we have the transition from dentist to writer. We have the fact that I have a broken neck and a neurological tumor, which I milk every 3 to 4 months just for a bit of the sympathy vote. But then we also have current storytelling. And in my opinion, these are actually the best for connection because they show you living your real life. And the key for these ones are just pay attention to what catches your attention. You can turn a story into any useful point, right? If you get good at it, it's just about making this creative link, what I call the transformation promise tie-in. Now, one little rule of thumb here though is, and let's come up with some story ideas and I'll tell you. If I come up with 3 just off the top of my head, so it's about getting clients, right? Okay, so we got the campfire one, me quitting my job. I thought that clients would land on my lap. They didn't, by the way, right? Because I didn't do the outreach stuff. Okay, so that's 18 months to make first dollar. But let's come up with another couple of stories. I had a conversation with a client, asked why he paid me, which is a brilliant question to ask, by the way. Always ask buyers, why did you pay me? Always ask non-buyers, why didn't you buy marketing gold? He said because of the DMs, right? Which was surprising. And then I just want to show you a quick one here. So I'm writing a book at the moment. I always thought book was about burying yourself in your room for 8 hours, but actually best book is about understanding people. Now, here's a really good rule of thumb. When people say you can write a story about anything, you can, but proximity leads to payment, right? These top two are very close to the pain point and the problem that my customer is experiencing. I'm going to show you how you actually link that up in a moment. The further away you get from it, okay, the harder that link is. That doesn't mean you can't send those sort of emails because they're fantastic for relationships, but particularly during a launch, particularly on the final and first day, I want the emails to be super, super specific and close to the thing that people care about. Not in the middle days, because usually you don't get that many buyers then anyway. That's the pre-writing plan. Couple minutes, and then I will just forget about it and let the subconscious mind begin to do its choo-choo whirring, and I'll go and I'll start writing on the Monday. Now, let's talk through the writing now. So the first part of a good email is to set the scene. Now, a lot of people are concerned that the inbox is too saturated, and I have over 100,000 unopened emails. Occasionally, I'll go through all the marketing ones. I did it recently, as in not all of them. I get bored after about 20 minutes, and 95% of them were crap. The reason they were crap is because the hooks were crap, right? And the hook is 99% of the work. What this means for you is that you are not competing with the crowd, you're competing with the players. And the players, right, are storytellers. And they use specificity like a sword to slice through the noise. Think of writing like painting a picture. If you, in your reader's mind, okay, and when people use vague, wishy-washy sentences that waffle on, the picture is blurry, it's granular, you can't really see what you mean. Uncertain people do not act. But when you're specific, what happens is you create a crisp, clear image in their mind so that they get what you mean, so they actually do what you say. And so let me show you a cool trick for this. Someone is doing, thinking, feeling, saying something, somewhere, sometime, all right? Sounds a bit ridiculous, but if you kind of fill this out, you hit most of those boxes, you're going to have a specific hook. So let's have a little look. And you're going to have to excuse my typing because... And so by the way, we're going to go for this one here, okay? Client story. Yeah, my keyboard is split and I don't usually type standing up, but let's have a look. I think to myself, what have I done here? Someone is saying something or thinking. It's me, all right? I'm on Zoom with a client, with an old client. I've just asked him why he invested over $5,000 with me over the past 3 years. I thought he would say it was my way of teaching, but his answer was more surprising and much more simple. Okay, there is a hook. Now, someone is doing, right? So, thinking. We're on a Zoom call. Okay, we're somewhere, sometime. So I could say, so I need to add in some time. I could go. Last week, I'm on a Zoom call with an old client. I've just asked him why he invested over $5,000 with me. Obviously, we don't need that. I'll do that in the edit normally. I thought he would say it was my way of teaching, but his answer was more surprising and much more simple. Okay, a specific hook. Now, here's a little hack, by the way. If you feel like you don't have that many stories, you can still turn stuff like quotes, ideas into stories. So, for example, let's say you want to write about don't follow the crowd, follow your curiosity. And you heard me say that. You read me on Twitter, right? Don't just say, you wouldn't start the email being like, here's an important tip. Don't follow the crowd, follow your curiosity, because you haven't engaged someone emotionally. You haven't sucked them in. Instead, you would say something like, it's Tuesday afternoon and I was slouching on the sofa, slurping on a cup of tea, scrolling Twitter when I should have been working, when I saw a line that stopped me in my tracks. It was from a rugged British writer who's incredibly good looking, blah, blah, blah. All right. Really cool way to turn everything into a story is just describe what you were up to at the time you found it. Anyway, the next part of setting the scene is crucial. Meet the market where they're at. So this is something that I picked up from Eugene Schwartz in Breakthrough Advertising. One of my favorite lines from him is, you must meet the market where they're at to take them where they want to go. I realized that with my emails and a lot of emails I've critiqued is that people will tell stories, but they always forget to answer the all important question that's on a reader's mind: what's in it for me? Okay, and so within the first sort of 3 seconds, if we can, we need to tie it into a problem they care about and a desire that they want. That creates point A, point B, which creates tension, which is what your email is going to resolve. Now, if you can't do it within the first 3 seconds, I have a little trick for this, which I'm going to show you at the end of this, so just keep on reading. How do we tie it in though, right? But his answer was more surprising and much more simple. We spoke in the DMs for months before. In the DMs for months before we worked together. You seemed to really care. Okay. Now, I don't do DMs to sell people. Right? Feels too sleazy and I can't be asked. And I'm far too lazy. But I'm always chatting because I'm interested. Okay, so I'm just finishing off the story. And by the way, most of this will probably get edited out. We're going to do the editing at the end. And I'm interested in what they have to say and what they're up to. What I didn't realize was that if you are struggling to get clients and want your content to convert, one of the simplest ways is to have more conversations. Okay? Pain point. Okay? And we can go deeper. Remember we said that the pain here was creating content for years. One of the simplest ways, I want your content to convert, one of the simplest ways to have more conversations. I know, roughly say, I know people who have spent years posting on social media and still don't get people reaching out to work with them. Alright, work with them. Okay? And now I'm like, shit man, that's me. Okay? Which sets us up for the next point, which is to prove your point. So remember I said to you that we need an email to be useful regardless of if people buy or not. Well, this is what we do here. We prove our point. And I say prove a point because it's not enough just to say something, okay? You have to back it up. Everyone is telling, few people are showing. And so I have a really, really simple way to do this. First and foremost, you state your point. Now, stating your point, remember we have one point, and this is your solution, by the way. This is where you tell people what to do. You change the way they think, feel, or act. And so the way that we do this is you want like a powerful polarizing line. So I might say something like, this here is kind of like a joining up thing. It's creating a slippery slide. Or here's what I know now. Something along those lines, right? We can do the minutia later. Clients do not happen by magic, okay? This is actually the point, right? Clients don't happen by magic, right? You must have conversations to enter their world. I might even get rid of that second part, right? But I just want to have a powerful line. And quite often when I'm writing the email and editing it, I might even do this. Make it big, right? And then the explain bit, the most persuasive word in the English language is because, right? Because everyone's looking for the reason why. I can't explain how powerful this is. Usually when I write an email, I say something is because, say something because, the whole way down, right? Because. And this is where we explain. And the way we explain is that we are specific and we're clear with what we mean. So I might. And we can also kind of do these together if we wanted to. So, because writing is like a magnet, right? But for a magnet to work, you need proximity, right? You need proximity, right? If you wait passively for people to come to you, right? The pull will never be strong enough. They might read your content, but they will pay your competitors, right? So it's quite a nice line there, and we kind of work on the articulation later. Okay, so I've explained it now. I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of see what you mean. This is actually a metaphor already, right? Writing is like a magnet, but I might, if I want to support it, I might say something like this. Think of it like this. First name, little tip, have once mention their name per email midway down to re-engage them, okay? Think of it like this, first name. say a business, brick and mortar business, and what I'm doing here is creating a visual image, okay, which is really important. Say a brick and mortar business has a billboard outside. Okay? They expect customers to walk in as a result. But next door, their competitor, has a billboard too. Except he's outside speaking to everyone who looks at it. And inviting them in to see more. Who do you think wins, right? Yep. The second guy. When you don't send DMs, when you don't have conversations, you aren't on the street. But your competitors are. Okay, so we're increasing the cost here, basically. But your competitors are. And that's why you'll lose. And just as a little note here, I know I'm going to edit that out, okay? This is negative, right? When you don't have conversations, you aren't on the street, but your competitors are, and that's why they'll lose, okay? You don't want to be doing that too much, right? Because fear is like salt. You use too much, you ruin the meal. And so when I edit, if I see something like this, I'm going to reframe it and be like the second guy, okay? When you have conversations, you are on the street, whilst your competitors are hiding in their stores. See how much more compelling this is, right? That's why they lose. And that is why you win. Most people just aren't willing to do the work. Okay, so there's a nice point, right? And it's a bit waffly, but again, we pour it all out and then we edit it later. Remember, check out my writing system in one of the earlier videos. I explain all of that in depth. So now we're going to ask for action. And if you've done your job right, you have created a buying environment, which is something Joe Sugarman talks about. There's a desire here, okay? A lot of people are just going to be like, okay, cool, yeah, I'll have some conversations. But what is the thought that's on someone's mind now? It's like, I don't know what to say, right? Perfect, okay, because we've got it for you, okay? And now one of my favorite ways to do a simple call to action is the if X then Y. Really easy copywriting framework. So most people just aren't willing to do the work. And by the way, people like to buy, they don't like to be sold. And so you want to have this, it's not a needy, desperate pitch, it's an invitation to invest. Take it or leave it, I don't care. That's the attitude you need if you want to write great emails. Most people aren't just willing to do the work. If you'd like a competitive advantage in 2025 and want to send great emails, I'll tell you what I've just done there in a second. I'm going to send great emails and want to land high ticket clients through conversation. I have something cool for you. Okay, so if X then Y, I'm like, oh yeah, that is me. Okay, and it has to be exclusive, scarce, and urgent. What do I mean by that? Is exclusive benefits to me. Okay, like make it sound compelling. Scarce, is it rare? Because people value rare things. And urgent, why do I need it now? Now that's super easy with a launch because usually you'll have a deadline. That deadline will usually be like a price thing, a timed thing, a stacked bonus thing, maybe all three, which is how I run 6-figure launches. But if it's not a launch, then you want to lean into the cost of inaction, right? Like a competitive advantage in 2025, if you don't want to fall behind, if you want to have 6-pack abs by summer, if you want to get laid by whatever, okay? Talk about the time frame, right? The reason why, I have something cool for you. My friend Diana, I don't send that many DMs because I have a big audience handling an objection. I have a big audience, and but my friend Diana has less than I don't actually know the number. By the way, when you're writing, if you don't know something, just put XF and you can go Control F and then search that later and just fill in the blank. Has less than XF followers, yet lands at least 3 high-ticket clients per month through social media alone. And she's not a special writer or some guru or some pushy guru either. She's just spent thousands of hours testing and systemizing approach, exclusive, right? She's just finished teaching it. 7 clients across various niches. Across various niches. And I know that a lot of my audience, again, like we're missing a lot of words and stuff. That's cool. First draft, just to get it out, right? It's like vomiting from the brain. A lot of my audience struggle with this, so I begged her to share everything she knew. She politely agreed. And so on Date and then XF, my VA will go fill that out. We're co-hosting a live training, which sounds more official than webinar, called XF. You'll see precisely, okay? Don't say learn sounds like work. You'll see precisely how to turn content into clients by having simple conversations that convert. Now, by the way, if you want to be persuasive in call to action sales pages, I have a 5-part framework here. So it's status, simplicity, speed, surety, and at a steal. Okay, status, big result. Speed, how quick will it happen? Simplicity, is it easy for me to do it? Surety, do we have proof to back it up? At a steal doesn't mean it's cheap. It means that the price discrepancy is great. I will take all of it, or I'll take some of it. You'll see precisely how to turn content into clients with simple conversations. And if I'm doing a launch, I'll just target bits of each, right? So we've got simplicity in all of this with simple conversations. She's provided, lists some resources that will help you convert much more with much less work, right? So it will help you convert much more, much less work. It's just XF. And considering the value of one client, I'm sure you can see how that's great, right? So I'll probably trim this all down. How that's great, but I guarantee I've seen this process. I've seen her process, and I have no doubt it will lead to many clients, not one. Right, so it's a steal, not just one. Okay. Now, if I wanted to, I could say something like there's only 100 seats available. If we're going to do that, I haven't decided, but let's move on and then we can edit it later. To sign up, this is really important for asking for action. So we've got everything here, right? Call to action, reason why, and then you just need to be like, just sign up. All you need to do, or you could do if X and Y again. If you like, if you want, keep restating the benefits, right? If you want to turn your ideas into income, you'll love this one. Sign up at the link below. Link, okay, XF, so I don't accidentally forget. I always finish on a powerful final line. This is because of the peak end rule. We remember the bits at the end the most. And I think that, again, not many people, not everyone will buy, and we want to be known as good writers. And so we use sticky statements. A sticky statement has juxtaposition, it has polarization, rhythm and rhyme. It's a metaphor or analogy. So we could say something like, and remember, you are in the business of solving people's problems. Speak to them and they'll tell you what they want. Kieran. All right, sweet. Having fun? Nearly done. PS. So the PS is a fantastic way to get many more clicks. And what we have to do is put ourselves in the reader's shoes. They have read this email and they haven't clicked yet, which means, right, that they have an objection on their mind that hasn't led to it. And so what we do in the PS, in really, really cool way, is just, what is the objection to what I've just said? I actually have a ChatGPT prompt that I just run through the email normally, and it'll give me 5 objections and which one it suggests. I have all of these prompts in my AI vault, which you can check out at the link below. But for now, we're just going to use our heads. All right, we're talking about getting clients, conversations. I know, because my clients are doing this at the moment. The problem is time, right? It takes so much bloody time doing outreach, okay? PS. The best part about Diana's system, and I would actually name the system, I just don't know what she's called it yet, system, is that it shaves hundreds of hours off the outreach process. You'll see how to select the right people to message. You'll get much higher responses. And she's even got a guide showing how to outsource the initial process. so you can focus more on writing and serving your clients. And then I'll remind about the deadline. Take a read here as a reminder. The deadline is XF. Take a read here, link XF. The deadline is XF. And then just another little objection is, what happens if I don't come? A recording will be available. Now, finally, we do the subject line. So the subject line, I do this last because it's very easy to make sure that we match the promise of the email. That's a really important rule. Never make a promise you don't uphold. The second reason is something I mentioned before. You must answer what's in it for me within 3 seconds. And so I could look at my email now, and sometimes I might tell a super long story. Again, we're going to trim down like half of this. I might tell a super long story, and then like we get to the point pretty quickly here, right? It's pretty obvious what it's about. But let's say I was telling a story about a pigeon that's invaded my balcony. I need my subject line to state the benefit of what we're talking about, right? And so a really nice one, you just combine curiosity and benefit. So this system, this is a really good word for curiosity. This system will guarantee you get more clients from social media content without living in the DMs, right? Or do you want more clients from your content? As another example, like a very vague one would be like that damn pigeon, okay? Which means if I'm going to do the pigeon, I need to state very quickly, I can't even really spell pigeon. And that's it, okay? Now, what I would have here, we've got the email good to go. That's my first draft. I've followed the thing. We've ticked all the boxes. I'm going to step away from the computer, go live my life for a day. The next day, under fresh eyes, I'm going to go. I'm going to trim it down. I'm going to cut out all the waffle. I'm going to make sure that it's clear and concise. And I'm just going to run through the same checklist to be like, did I do this? Did I do that? Did I do this? Now, if you'd like to see me edit this email, then all you have to do, there's a link below. It's got the cheat sheet for you. It's got a recording of me editing it because I know you're busy. And it's got the final email too, so you can see the polished up version. Otherwise, I hope you found this useful. Just remember, emails, it's all about reps, okay? So just keep sending them, really enjoy yourself, lean into the stories, and I guarantee people will start to see you as the go-to writer in your niche. Have a great day.